being recorded. Please go ahead and use the chat box. All questions will be recorded in there, and any of the ones that I answer, I will not mention your name. So this is the Front Desk Activity Tracking Jonas Club Management webinar. A couple of things before we get started. Your phones are muted, and that is just to minimize background noise. If you do have any questions for me, please go ahead and use the chat box or use the question and answer box. Both of those can be found if you have your screen maximized. Just hover your mouse on that green bar that shows up at the very top in the center. You should see a drop-down toolbar, and then from there, you should be able to click on Chat or Q&A. If you can't find that or your screen is not maximized, look at the event center that popped up when you joined the session. You should have a chat button on that event center as well as a Q&A button. You can direct chat questions to me privately, and if they do come through privately, I will answer them via chat box. I will not say them out loud. If you direct them to everybody, I will go ahead and say them out loud, but I will not say your name. This session is about 50 minutes long with 10 minutes for question and answer. And again, this does depend on how many questions we need. If we do need to go over time, we can go over time to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. What will happen is I'll deliver the slideshow presentation first, and then I will keep the phones muted and turn to the chat box and the question and answer. I will answer any questions there. Then I will unmute all of the phones, and you can go ahead and answer and ask me your questions personally. And then at that point, we will end the webinar. So a copy of this will be available. The PDF slides will be available at jonassupport.com under the Resources and Training tab. Where you signed up for this webinar, at the very bottom of that screen, you can see a list of all the slides in PDF form for each webinar that we've delivered so far this year. The video should be available on the website as well, and that's jonassupport.com. And it's under Resources and Training and then Video Library. We are recording this session for the first time this year, so give us about a week or so to get it up on the website. And one more thing about webinars is that they are not to be taken or used in place of training. They're to enhance your knowledge of Jonas. They're really just tips, tricks, and overviews and a chance for you to ask some questions. But we do expect you to have a base knowledge of Jonas and of this module before taking this webinar. So getting started, what is Front Desk Activity Tracking? It's used to track the traffic or member usage within different areas or spaces or rooms within the club through a check-in process. So an example of a room where you would need to use this would be a fitness area or a gym, a pool, any kind of exclusive area where your members need to check in for, or anything where you need to track capacity. So what this module does is it produces detailed reports. You can look at them by date, you can look at them by member, and you can look at them by area or room. And it eliminates the need for a manual sign-in sheet, so your members don't have to write their names every time. You just have to either give them a member card to swipe, or they just give you their member number, and your front desk person can check them in. So what we'll do is we will go through some setups, we'll go through the processing, and then we'll also go through the reporting that you have available to you on this webinar. This is an example of the check-in screen and some of the options that you can select. So you can see we have, starting in the top left corner, we have the actual member who's checking in, their title, their age, and their photo, as well as their status, their join date, and their member number. And these things are all customizable, so you can actually set what information you want to display when a member checks in. Below the member photo, you can see the history of members who have checked in before this person, Mr. Gary Abbott, as well as the photos of the members who have previously checked in. Over to the right-hand side, there's a section called Member Mail. So what that is you can actually leave messages to pop up when certain members come into the club. And then in the very bottom right is where you actually enter in the member number or swipe the card. So going through some of our setups first, this is just an overview of the setups that we need to consider. We will go through these in more detail. The setups that we need to look at are all found under the Club Management module in the Activity Tracking submenu under Club Front Desk. So the first setup, of course, is our activity rooms. These are the actual rooms or areas where members need to be checking into. The second setup is the Family Check-in Auto Settlement Codes. So what that means is if you do charge guest fees or if you do charge members a certain fee to use a certain room, how are we settling those? Is it going to be automatically charged to their account as a member charge? Will you be automatically charging it as cash credit card, credit book, all kinds of options that you can set up there. The third one is your terminal setup, so actually setting up the workstation that will be used as the check-in terminal. And there are a couple different options we can look at that. That's where the bulk of your setup will be, and that's also where your display options are set. The fourth one is member messages. So that is that section of the screen where you can actually leave messages for your members or messages for your staff regarding certain members. And the last one, and this is fairly new within the last 2 versions, is email notifications. So you can actually set up your activity tracking module to send you an email when a certain member checks into the club. So starting with activity rooms, so these are, again, used to set up the codes and descriptions of the rooms or areas you wish to track the activity in. Very simple setup. So it's just under club management, activity tracking, club front desk, activity rooms. You just have to give the room a code and a description. And this is purely for your reporting purposes. It allows you to separate the different areas. So you can see in our examples, we have a great hall, we have a spin studio, we have a fitness center, we have a pool, and we just have a regular studio. So again, you just have to give the room a code and then give it a description. The next option is your family check-in settlement code. This is used to create the member charge settlement code for auto-charging guest fees through check-in. So if you are going to charge guest fees to your member or fees to use a certain room, this is just setting up the general ledger integration for how those are going to be billed back to the member. So they can actually be linked to what we call settlement reporting codes in POS to show up on POS reports as well. So POS being point of sale. A settlement reporting code shows up on your end of day update. It gives you a little summary at the end of the day, how much of your sales were cash, were member charged, were credit card, et cetera. So you can link these settlement codes to different settlement reporting codes. So you can see at the end of the day your total sales for that sales area. Terminal setup. So the terminal setup is where the majority of the configuration for this module happens. It's used to set up specific settings for each computer that will be used as a check-in. An example of some stuff that you will see in the terminal setup would be your default room. So where is this terminal located, or what's the most common area it will be used to check in members at. What the keyboard style is, so whether it's a touchscreen or a regular desktop computer that has a keyboard attached. Whether or not to charge guest fees, so if it's in a room where you need to charge guest fees, of course, you will flag yes on this terminal. And also what to display, so whether you want to see your members' ages, your members' photos, their fee billing setup, their status. You can see all kinds of different information on your members. The terminal setup is where you tell Jonas what to show from different areas. And you can actually have each terminal set up differently. So you can have 2 terminals in the same room that show you completely different things. And you can have 2 terminals on opposite sides of the clubs that show you the exact same thing. It's totally up to you and how you think would work best for your club. So this is an example of the terminal setup screen. You can see, of course, it follows the terminal ID. So this is your terminal ID for the computer, and every computer that uses Jonas has an individual terminal ID, or should. And then you have to set your default club and whether or not you want this terminal to show member info. Looking further down, you can look at your configuration for card swipes. So if you issue member cards, what kind of configuration are you using? Do you have an external swiper? Is it directly on your keyboard? Is it on the actual terminal? So you can buy POS touchscreens that have swipers attached to them already. And then which room should this terminal be in? So you have 2 options. You can click on Select Room, or you can just set a default room. So if you click on Select Room, it actually allows the user, so whether it's the member checking themselves in or your staff member checking a member in, allows them to choose what room they're checking into. Looking down into the bottom right, the list of options there, we have a couple ones to talk about. So the Select Keyboard button, so that means is you can toggle whether or not there's a keyboard attached or on the screen. Auto display the mail in the front desk monitor, so if a member has a message associated with their account, should that pop up automatically? Use biometric member information, so do you keep fingerprints on file for your members? Display front desk message in card swipe. exactly what it sounds like. If you have a message for that member set up on their account to pop up when they check in, should it display automatically when they swipe their card. So the reason that you would say no to that is because it stays on the screen. So the member actually has to physically hit OK for it to go away and the next member to be able to swipe in. So that's why that's an option and not just a default, because if there's not a person, such as a staff member, manning that check-in computer, that message will stay there for the rest of the day, and your members will be trying to swipe in and won't have any success. Display member info on front desk monitoring. So there is an option to just monitor the front desk. So it's not an actual check-in screen. It's just a look and see who is checking in. So if you have your swiper and your front desk check-in screen out at a desk and maybe your security is watching it from behind a window, this would show them all that member information there as well. Enable fast family members check-in. So instead of having to check in the main member and all their dependents separately, you would check in just the main member and it would pop up and ask you which dependents they have with them that day. Display VIP messaging card swipe, so you can set up a club management pop-up to show when they're swiping their cards. So it's just different ways to have messages attached to different members. Use Alpha keyboard. So if your member numbers have letters in them, you'll need the Alpha keyboard, of course. Hide member find button. So what that means is the member has to give you either their member card to swipe or their member number. You can't find them based on name. Add background pictures to numeric screen. Just a display option adds a little picture to the number screen. Enable turnstile. So if your members check themselves in and it actually activates a gate or a turnstile to allow them into the club, is that attached? And show icon to stop monitor. So what that means is, are you able to is your staff able to exit out of the front desk check-in screen? So once you start it, typically it just runs all the time and you can't exit out. This option would allow your staff to end it and use other things within the Jonas system based on their menu access. So those checkboxes do activate some deeper options over on the right-hand side. You can see biometric configuration, you can see front desk messages, you can see the background pictures, which we talked about, the turnstile configuration, and then also the rooms to view. The family check-in options we will talk about, as well as the rooms to show. And then display member info, what that talks about is what do you want to see when your members check in, what information. So family check-in options, and this is an option from the main terminal setup screen. This is used to allow an entire family to check in at once by selecting which family members are checking in. So like I said before, as opposed to the main member checking in, their spouse checking in, all of their children individually checking in, the main member would go ahead and check in, and then it would pop up a screen saying which family members are with them and give you a list of all their dependents. So here you can have automatic guest fee charges, and what you'll need for guest fees is to link them to a point of sale sales item. And you can check in guests with the family as well. So you can also toggle between the Alpha keyboard and the numeric keyboard. So what that means is, are you entering in the member number or are you entering in the member name to search? And that will show you letters versus numbers, of course. And you can also set up a custom message for members without club usage or signing privileges. So instead of having the regular message that pops up if a member is a status or override that does not allow them to come into the club or member charge, you can have a different message that pops up that says, you know, member is overdue, do not allow them in, or this member cannot member charge, they never pay. So you can have anything. This is an internal message, and it's just for your staff checking them in to know, okay, this person does not have club usage. So this is what the pop-up looks like when you're using the family check-in screen. So in this case, member A1000, Gary Abbott, has checked into the club. There's a list of his dependents there, so you can see his wife, Mary, his son, TJ, and his daughter, Caroline, are all there. And then also on the right-hand side, how many guests have they brought with them? So by checking in all the family as well as their guests at the same time, what it'll do is it'll check in those 3-4 members, as well as auto-charge Gary Abbott's account for the number of guests that he's chosen to bring with him. So it makes the check-in process really quick for a big group. The display member info option, or the card swipe system display. So what this does is this sets up what information do you want to see when a member checks in. So whether it's name, whether it's status, their balance owing you can have set, their membership type, the different kinds of dues that they have. And you can set up the top left, the middle, and the top right sides of the screen with up to 6 fields each. And the card swipe display can show 6 fields in total. So the monitor can show you a little bit more, whereas the card swipe display just gives you a quick summary of who's coming in. So this is what the setup screen looks like for the display member info. So you can see you have your 3 different tabs, one to show at the top left, one to show in the top middle, and one to show in the top right. And then these codes actually pull from the ones that are in the club report generator. So if you've ever used that, you know that there are hundreds and hundreds of codes to display, and you can show them all at the front desk if you so choose. Member messages. So member messages allows you to set up a message to pop up in the mail section when a certain member checks in at the card swipe system. So if you remember, the mail section was in the middle right, and it allows you to write a message to the person monitoring that front desk system that there's mail waiting. So it could be anything from Mr. Abbott's wife is here, please let him know she's sitting on the patio, to come and find a supervisor when Mr. Abbott checks in because I need to talk to him about his bill. So member messages, this is what the setup screen looks like for that. You assign it to a club, you assign it to a member, and then you give it a message number, and members can have an unlimited number of messages associated with their account. And then you set up your from and your to. So the to would be to me, to Sarah, and it's from just club front desk, because in this case the message is I lost my water bottle, and the front desk is just put a little note there saying the next time she checks in, tell her to come pick up her water bottle because it's here. You can also leave messages from other people. So in my example before, Mr. Abbott's wife has arrived at the club and she wants him to know that she's on the patio. This is obviously created before the days of cell phones, but these messages could be used for anything really. And then you also have options for what action needs to be taken regarding this message. So you can flag off the callback, the returned call, the will call again, whether or not it's urgent, or no pickup. And then it does have a little edit log down at the bottom saying who's leaving this message and who gave the message. So new in version 12.6, which was 2016's general release, under club management, activity tracking, club front desk, email notifications, you can actually set up an email to be sent to specific staff members when a member has checked in. So you can have it set to check in from anywhere. You can have it be disabled from certain terminals, so maybe just you want to see when they check in at the spin studio, but you don't really care if they go to the regular gym. It requires a couple of things set up first. So the first one is to actually have the body of the email written out, and that's set up under the administration menu. So on your main Jonas menu, click on administration, and then letter designer, and that requires you to go ahead and type in the actual body of the email that the supervisor will receive when that member checks in. And then you need to go to system administration. So again, on your main Jonas menu, system administration, system setup, and then Gmail parameters. And you need to make sure that there is email information, so whether it be Outlook or your email server, your club email server, it needs to be configured so that Jonas knows how this email will be sent. So administration letter designer to tell Jonas what needs to be sent, and Gmail parameters to tell Jonas how. This is what the letter designer screen looks like. So again, it's administration, letter designer. Choose your type of form, which will be F, front desk notification, and then you can have multiple document codes based on what kind of notification it is. So whether it's somebody, a VIP in the club, or it's somebody that the controller needs to talk to because they owe them money. You can set up different document codes with different email bodies for that. And you can also pull in custom member information. So you can have it actually print the member's name, the member's number, what time they checked in, where they checked in. And this is what the Gmail parameters screen looks like. You can see that we've chosen to send the email through Outlook, but you can also send the email through your email server. this is what the email notification screen looks like. So once you have the two things set up, the what and the how, you'll want to come in and actually set up an email notification code. So this is, you can give it a code such as VIP, you can give it a code such as the member number who's in the club, and then the description is just a longer description so that you can see what that code contains. You assign each code to a room number, and then you just have to put in an email subject. So it could be something as simple as Mr. Smith is in the club to a VIP has arrived, please proceed to the dining room. And then you can set up to 5 email addresses for this email to be sent to. Once you have those parameters in there, you just have to assign your members. So which members, when they check in, do you wish to receive the email for? Okay, so once you have your setups done, you've got your email notifications in there, you set up your rooms, you set up how you want your card swipe system to display, and you set up all of your different guest fees. You will go to club management, activity tracking, front desk, and then the card swipe system. So this is your main check-in screen. From here, it could display an alpha keyboard, a numeric keyboard, or no keyboard, depending on your terminal setup. So no keyboard would mean that you're requiring your members to either swipe their card or your front desk people to type in the member number. Members can be checked in by swiping a card, entering a member number, or searching by name, and you can restrict any of those options by terminal if you wish. And you actually cannot get out of this system if you haven't set the terminal to display the exit button unless you use the Control Pause Break key on your keyboard. So it's good for if you're allowing your members to check themselves in because they can't exit out of the card swipe system and just get into your Jonas system. But it's not good if it's somebody's actual desk and they need to use Jonas for other things than checking in. So make sure if it is somebody's desk that they're checking in at, that you do have an exit button displayed at that terminal. So you also have the option to have a front desk monitor. So this is not a sign-in screen. This is just for, say, your security or your controller to go ahead and run while they're working to keep track of who's in the club. So all it does is it updates as people check in, and it shows you who's in the club, the date, the time, the member, their status, if they brought any guests, and where they checked in. So it's just a way for your security to kind of monitor who's coming into the club if you don't have somebody actually out there at the front desk check-in terminal watching them as they physically swipe their cards. So you have the card swipe system, which is the main screen for checking in. You also have the front desk monitor, and this is just a monitor screen. You cannot check in from this screen. And you can also, if you double click on the lines from each member, you can see their chit history, so you can see what they purchased while they were in the club. Within the card swipe system, you actually have the option to edit card swipe records. So if somebody's made a mistake, if somebody gave you the wrong member number, if a member checked in and then really quickly got a call and had to leave, you can go in and actually fix errors on check-ins. You can change the time, you can change the member number, change the room, and you can change the number of people, or you can completely delete the check-in. So this is good for if you need to, maybe your computer was set to the wrong time and it looks like everybody checked in at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning instead of 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. This is how you would go in to fix that. Also, if a member gave you the wrong number, the wrong name, or maybe the terminal was set to the wrong room, so they checked into the pool, but really they meant to check into the spin room. So this is what the Edit Card Swipe Records screen looks like. You can filter it so you only see the check-ins between certain dates. You can filter it based on member code, and you can filter it based on room. Gives you a list of all the check-ins for your parameters. To edit it, just double-click on the line you need to edit, and it will pop up and allow you to change that. So that's really all there is in terms of processing. It's very basic. It's just a card swipe system with some tracking options. Now we're going to get into some reports that you can run. So the reporting that's available to you while you use this module. The first one is the activity tracking report, and this gives you the activity over a specified date range. And you can filter it based on room, you can filter it based on member, you can filter it based on date, or you can filter it based on time, and you can also sort it by all of those things as well. So this is what the activity tracking report looks like. You can see that this one is grouped by room, so we can see our pool check-ins first, see the member number, the member name, the date and the time, as well as the status of the member, and the quantity. So if did they just check in themselves? Did they check in themselves and 3 guests? And then you can also get your totals at the bottom, so your total number in the room for that day, as well as your total number of transactions. The next report is your attendance report. So it gives you the attendance by member per month. It can show you all the members, or be filtered to just see selected members. So if you're looking to see what Mr. Smith did last month in the club, you can filter it based on that. And you can actually put the member's phone number on the report if you need it. So it's a really good marketing tool to know who's using what room in the club. If you're having a promotion, or maybe if something got lost in that room, you can actually call the members who are there and ask them or advise them of the promotion. So this is what the attendance report looks like. This is one that does not have the phone number printed on it, but you can see it gives you the member number, the member name, gives you their fee billing category, when their last visit was, and then it actually gives you visits or check-ins by day, as well as their total. And this report was actually filtered by month, but you can filter it based on whatever date range you need. And then you have your summary by hours report. So it gives you a summary of activity for each room for each hour of the day. So you can kind of report on when your busy times were, when you should be expecting the most revenue. Can be run for all rooms, a range of rooms, or selected rooms. And you can only have up to 9 days on one report. Because it's so big, because it's every hour, if you're viewing or printing or sending it to PDF, you can only have 9 days on this report. 99 days is the maximum, and that you can only export to Excel. And that's just because it's so big, you're going to get so much information that there's no way to format it cleanly any bigger than that. Okay, and this is what the summary by hours report looks like. It gives you the room code, the time slot, and then you can see we have 2 days on this report, 2 columns. So I can see when my busy times were, and if I was to send this to Excel, I could put a nice chart together based on club activity. And that is all of the material I have for you today. I don't see any questions coming through in the chat box, so I will go ahead and unmute the phone lines if you want to go ahead and give me your questions.
Line unmuted.
You can go ahead and put them in the chat box as well. There we go. So you should be unmuted now if anybody has any questions for me. Okay, I will stay on the line. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. Again, a copy of these slides in PDF form will be available at jonassupport.com, as well as the video of this presentation, again, at jonassupport.com under Resources and Training. I'll stay on the line for another couple minutes if anyone has any other questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining today, and have a great rest of your day, guys. Excuse me.